these are the 16 most underrated Roblox games to make Roblox actually fun again. This game is basically just a game where you play as flappy ragdoll men but with tons of weapons, bombs, and random stuff. It's literally the most chaotic and explosively crazy game I've ever seen, and I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, just look at this gameplay. Your character can't even walk straight without having a seizure. But besides all the craziness in it, it's actually a fun and competitive game that's actually better than almost all those other shooting games like Rivals that I've found so far. Game name is Flappy Men. This game is very simple. You can grab a gun you want and start shooting. It has a very good art style to it that's similar to another game on the list, and the gun system is kind of bad, but it also kind of makes the game just way funner because it's hard to learn and hard to do. You can even rob banks even though they are usually already robbed, but overall not a bad game. It just needs lots of updates to fix it to make it even better. Game name is Blind Bandits. This is literally Super Smash Bros but in Roblox. It was pretty hard to learn the controls at first, but once I got used to it, it felt extremely smooth and well made. The only problem was I'm apparently so bad at these types of games, like all these games in general, that I literally could not win a single round. And apparently a story mode is coming soon though, so overall the game's extremely underrated, and it's been growing a little bit, but still it's underrated. Game name is Brawler, and this is probably the chillest and one of the most underrated Roblox games I've ever found. It's literally not a cash grab at all, but you just work in a little bakery in the 1800s and in some place in like London or something. And literally every detail of this place is so well made. You can even customize your old-timey avatar, but you go to the recipe book first and find a recipe you want to bake and start copying the recipe using the ingredients and the machines in the tiny kitchen. You make it step by step, then wait for it to cook in the oven, take it out, and either give it to a customer or put it in the shelf for storage. There's even tons of upgrades that you can get to make the kitchen run smoother and faster and just look better, and an ominous cellar that doesn't do anything, I think. But you'll have to play it to find out. Game name is Untitled Bakery. This game's one of the simplest games on the list, but I mean, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's literally just a racing game, except it's not pay to win literally at all. And by that, I mean there's not a single donation or dev product or game pass. There's literally nothing, because the developers of this also made Flee the Facility, so they already got money. This is just for fun. And this also means that's purely skill-based, so every car has the exact same speed, and nobody has an advantage except for people who are just better than you, which is how it should be. The races in this game are actually fun and satisfying because there's tons of obstacles, and each map is procedurally generated, so it's not just a boring track every single time. Just don't fall off the track though, or bad things happen. There's also tons of fun cars to try though, and even though they're the same speed, the yellow one feels the fastest. And also they just did a big update, so there's a big overhaul of like everything. But either way, game name is Tiny Wheels, so make sure to watch to the end because these games get crazier as the video goes on. When I first saw this game, I thought it was going to be one of the generic obby games, but it is far from that. There's tons of different towers you can choose from by going in their portals, but the second you join the first tower, you realize that this definitely is not a normal obby. Like I said, it's just literally a voice actor for each stage. The detail is insane, but the game itself is actually surprisingly hard, and even though it's fun and well made, it made me rage so many times. I mean, I was literally recording for hours straight. But as you play the game more and more, there's more cool things like movable boxes, whatever these are, wall climbing, zip lines, and more. There's literally cutscenes and entire boss fights on every stage where you defeat a guy by completing extra obbies and doing other stuff. It's so well made, and the game name is Tower World. This is probably one of the most unique games I've seen in a while, and I know that I say that about a lot of games, but this one is pretty unique because from what I know, there isn't many games that are like this, but you're basically a miner in some strange dark world, probably in the 1900s or the 1800s. You go in the store and you get a pickaxe and lots of other stuff once you get more money, but this is definitely a slower game at times, but once you go deeper in the mines, you realize it gets a little different. You start out mining ores and go deeper in the mines and meet some very odd people. But just make sure to look out for the demons talking the games because they're pretty crazy. Game name is Lithos though. This game is a war game about all those old American battles that you learned in a history class, and it's kind of like Guts and Black Powder a little bit. However, you're fighting other players on the opposite team instead of zombies or NPCs. I liked how realistic the reloading is, and it seems very historically accurate even though I don't know history at all. The aiming and stuff was very hard to learn though, which I guess is realistic. And whenever you die, you're literally dead for the entire round, which is also realistic. Apparently there's also building, but I didn't know how to do it, but this is how you do it. My game name is Lexington in Concord, even though I don't know what that means. This game is literally an entire town game, and it's incredibly detailed. You can enter each and every building, I mean literally every single building, and they're all extremely detailed, and they even have jobs sometimes. And to be fair, it might be a little bit retro slot, but I don't care because it's sick. The amount of NPCs that sometimes is actually insane, and it's crazy that it isn't laggy like at all. And you can also kill and rob every single NPC with guns, and the cars are actually so sick the way where they drive around and you can wreck the town with them. And I know I already mentioned it, but I keep finding new houses as I'm recording and stores with so many details in them, and you can even blow stuff up and literally cause so much havoc on the town. The game name is Ultimate Town Multiplayer. This is also an incredibly unique game. It takes a very long time to learn, but I always feel like this is at like 15 or 0 players, so it definitely needs more hype. I've literally never seen a combat system like this before, but if it's a copy of some random indie game, then I'm deeply sorry, but I don't think it is. You basically fight on a random pirate ship with chips being used as your health bar, and each style has 4 different attacks you can use. You hold space to open the wager menu, and you can wager a chip to get special abilities. And I'm not going to explain the whole tutorial because it's way too confusing. So just try it and try to learn it for 15 minutes, and it's pretty sick. But the game name is Fencers & Co. I say this a ton, but this game does not feel like Roblox, like hardly at all. I mean, a little bit, but not really. It feels like some type of indie game or GTA 5, partially because of the graphics, but also because of the fact it looks like those old GTA 5 maps where you can customize and make your own racetrack for everyone to try. And that's basically what it is, because you and everyone else builds a map, and you can even see their cursors building and dragging stuff in real time. You race, and the only thing weird is that the camera is kind of far back, so I kept forgetting which car I was, but after every lap you build a new section, and it's so chaotic and fast-paced. Game name is Brace. In this game, you just climb up a massive, and I mean massive, procedurally generated mountain with your friends. It has one of the chillest communities I've ever seen in a Roblox game, just because the game is so simple. You climb up a mountain like the title says, and you can also do things like fishing in the ponds while talking to the mountain goers. There's also tools you can use to aid your mountain climbing journey, and the sights get pretty sick at sunset, especially when you're very high up. There's surprisingly a lot of things to do in this game though, and what makes it perfect is that the mountain is different every single time you play it. Game name is Climb a Mountain. So in this game, you're a pirate who has lots of different classes that are all pretty sick. There's many game modes, but essentially you just sink enemy ships to win the game. And for a simple game like this, the combat is actually pretty fun and very satisfying. And for some reason, they decided to make it so you can lose a limb too, so I guess that's realistic. You can also get on a boat and ride to the enemy ship to strategically get to them when they least expect it. Overall, it's a great retro game, and there's surprisingly a huge variety of maps, but game name is High Tides. But in this game, you play as a Robloxian in a ball trying to climb up to the top of a structure known as a world pillar. You start the game and the ball moves pretty fast, so it's not some slow game, but it is a rage game. It gets pretty annoying at times, which is the purpose of the game, I guess, but it definitely deserves more players as it normally only has like 20 or so. It also has some great environments and graphics overall, even though it still has that Robloxian feel, and the movement is pretty satisfying just because of how fast you are going. Game name is Ball Rage though, and in this game you literally just are on a train ride to nowhere, and it just goes on infinitely. But it's kind of like those desert bus games where there's trains that come on the side or just some crazy random events that happen to make the game way more interesting than just a train. There's some interesting people in the game, and it's so fun to just try out to see all the events. Game name is The Never Ending Train Ride. But finally, this is a medieval fighting game where you fight your opponents with swords, and it is pretty brutal. It's extremely dead, but usually it still has enough players to fill up 2 teams to like 10 to 20 people, even though you're technically supposed to have like 50 people per server. But it's a pretty slow game, which makes it annoying at times, but also it's realistic. You're carrying around all this medieval gear. Game name is Iron Blood 2 though, and it's pretty sick. And if you want more videos like this, tell me in the comments.